Good evening once more, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to part two of our show with Day Lee. And tonight, he continues with his explanation on this wonderful topic about modifying culture and behavior as a result. Uh, in part one, which you can catch if you look at the part one episode, he did talk about the understanding side of it. And tonight, he will talk about the culture and the acting side of it. So they
Okay, Dino, thank you so much again for introducing me, and I'll go straight to the act portion of my presentation. Okay, so yesterday, I think, when was it? The last episode, we talked about more of the understanding, and now let's talk about how leaders can actually act towards these things when we understand the information that we've gathered. And one of the things that I would say, regardless you have information or not, is to keep on reading. And a lot of people might not like this, but yes, I would say that most of my knowledge, if not all of my knowledge, a bulk of it would be from reading different books from different. I mean, it does not need to be good, right? It does not need to be a bestseller for you to read it. As long as you can get something out of it, or even go against it, go against something that you read, it's a very, very good exercise that you can do. This way, you can understand how other people think, as well as gain insights and information on how other people actually behave towards certain things. And why try to learn something, from scratch when others already have written something about it already? And which I think it's a segue because you've mentioned this a while ago. Um, a lot of people tell me, "Oh, but I don't have time to read," right? So I have a solution for that. I actually make book summaries, as Dino mentioned a while ago. So this is a screen cap of my daily book club. So I just to make it very accessible for everyone, because a lot of people also say that, oh, it's so hard to understand because it's in business English. So what I do is I do these book summaries in Taglish, right? Nonfiction books in Taglish, so that people could understand it more, and it could be accessible to more. And then when they enjoy it, they could go out and buy the book, right? So at least, because one of the things that people would say is, oh, what if I just waste my money on this if I don't like it? So at least now you know where to go. So yeah, that's what I do. So please do read. I just want to
hey,
say that.
I
Mhm.
have a question. Is this on YouTube? I think it
Yeah,
is, right?
yeah,
And
it is.
could
It
you
is.
post the link in our chat box here so that I may promote your YouTube channel? And
Yeah,
by the way,
sure.
ladies and gentlemen, after Day shares it with us, may I encourage all of you to go and visit his YouTube channel, click on the like, and subscribe so
Thank
that
you.
you get the latest updates from his book summaries. Because like they mentioned, a lot of you are super busy and you may not really have time to read, but his book summaries will save you a ton of time. So do go visit, click like, and subscribe.
Oh, thank you very much, Dino, for that. So yeah, I will put down the link below later on. All right.
Okay.
Yeah. And you might say, yes, we would have extra knowledge with this, but this is where acting comes in. Because a lot of people say that knowledge is power, but knowledge isn't really power, it is potential power. So unless you actually put them into action, it's nothing, right? It's not powerful. So a lot of people say, oh, I know this, I know that. But then again, if you don't put it into action, then it's nothing. So this is something that I always tell people to also share their knowledge if they do have, okay? Because of the fact that some people are very stingy with what they know. It's always good to also share so that maybe a collaboration could happen, or anything, right? Moving forward. Which leads us to communication. Communication's one of the highest forms of, let's say, skills that actually give people a lot of anxiety. Okay, so you might be asking, okay, why does it give anxiety? Take a look at this diagram that I just drew. Okay, if you're the person A, okay, you would actually see from the A side that it's 4, right? But on the B side, it's 3, right? But it's the same thing. And this is what usually happens. Let's say A is your employees, right? And B is the upper management or the leaders. A would keep saying that, oh no, it's four on the field because we're on the field, we see four. But the upper management would say, no, 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 it's B. We see it as B. But see, unless they communicate properly, people would think, the people in the A area or the employees would think, oh, the upper management's really stupid. Why can't they see something so obvious, right? And the B would say, how come the employees can't see this? It's so obvious that it's three. And of course, this is such a just a simplification of it, but this is what's actually happening when it comes to communication, right? You can see that, yeah, the communication gap here is that you have to get together and really say, oh, look at it on my side. It's actually four. And the upper management at the same time should say, oh, look at it from our side. It's three. Then you create a newer understanding from that and say, okay, how are we supposed to solve this? What do we choose, three or four, to be our consensus? See, and this is what a lot of people uh, don't practice. They just, say, oh no, they don't get it. They don't get it. And then cut it from there. And the people who think that they get it will start having anxiety. And that's why what I mean by saying communication really creates a lot of anxiety, not just for the upper management, but also for the employees. Right, so very
I
interesting.
love that sharing that you just made because recently I noticed that there was a messenger chat group that was created,
Mm-hmm.
and for some inexplicable reason, somebody posted a message in that chat group that didn't specifically mention who it was addressed to. And when then some of the people in the chat group began to react, they
Yeah.
were starting to uh, fire back with their own reactions. And then the author of that message began to try to explain himself, which only made things worse.
Yeah.
So I totally agree with you because despite the fact that being able to communicate has never been as easy as it is now, because
Yeah.
you could text, you could chat, you could send a video log, you could. So
Mm-hmm.
there are many ways that we can reach out, and yet the simple things like maybe sending it as a private message to one individual rather than posting it for everybody to see. Uh, is strategically the right thing to do. So your point is well made. People understand the word communication, but their interpretation of it is, as we say, reality is perception. Different
Yeah.
things to different people.
Mhm. And true, this really causes anxiety. I would remember during the pandemic when they sent a letter. This is another company. I'm not going to mention the name again. A company sent to all their employees something that should have been sent just to upper management. It was about the 13th month prorated pay of the people
Mm,
and then it was sent to all the employees, and now the employees were all panicking because they thought that it was final.
mm,
So and then they thought that they wouldn't get pay, they would get laid off and all those things. But that it caused a mass panic. So just saying that based on your example, and based on your example, one way to actually combat this is to use the right framework. So right meaning WRITE, right? And a lot of people would say that, oh, but I want to be nice to people, so I want to mask it with nice words and all these things. But I would say that at the end of the day, being accurate, okay, being accurate is already being kind. Because the more you try to mask these things when there is miscommunication or misunderstanding, that's already not being kind, right? It's actually making other people get stressed more when they shouldn't be. So, like is mentioned a while ago, let's start with this. Before we go on to the WRITE, the first thing that you have to really understand is, like you've mentioned, is who is it for? All right,
right.
you really have to know who is it for. Because if you don't know who is it for and you send it to random people, they would really react because they have no context over it.
Right.
And a good example was a while ago, your messenger, right? Next would be, let's go to the WRITE, is what, right? We have to, and we follow this because logic has to come first before emotions. Because when emotions come first, people tend to think about other things, and people tend to think about in their shoes, and it gets biased, right? So to avoid that, we have to do logic first, then emotions next. So we can start with what. So what is the situation? What is the complication? What is the question? What is the answer that you want to say to whoever you're talking to, or a group that you're talking to? So the situation can be, oh, we're going to be giving out our 13-month pay because it's pandemic, right? But it's going to be prorated. So that's the what, right? And then right after that, because humans are rational and irrational at the same time, they always need a reason for things, and that's the R. You give them a reason. So why are you doing this? Where? Now? Are you sure? Facts. So these are the things that you give, so that the person can feel accounted for, right? Next, we go to the I. People don't really believe you if you don't have initiative. So if you are giving a reason to your boss what happened, and you gave him the reason, let's say, oh, this happened, we lost sales because of this. But the next thing that you have to do is to say the initiative. What initiative or action that you have taken? Then you can say, but I tried to do this. Or you give them an initiative that they can do, action that they need to take. So that's initiative. So that it's very clear what you want from them or what you want them to know, right? Then, after the initiative comes tact. Tact is just the emotion part of things, the sensitivity, the emotions, saying sorry. Because if you say sorry in the start, whoever you're talking to would already think, okay, this person did a bad thing. So it's already negative in their heads. They will take your anything that you're gonna say in a negative way, right? So that's bad. That's why tact is always at the bottom. And then after that is end notes. So what are end notes? End notes are basically just things like other details, follow through, call to action. Oh, can I get this? Can you make the deadline this? Can you make the deadline that? Can you reply to me next week? Things like that. So those are the end notes. And writing this down first before you go into a conversation or having a hard conversation is always good. It's not just for emails, it's not just for writing things down. It's also for verbal communications. Once you're able to do this, you'll also figure out, okay, what information am I missing? Oh, I'm missing initiative. Oh, I'm missing a reason. I'm missing a what, right? Then you would be more prepared coming in. At the same time, you would have a better, clearer conversation to actually move things forward. So this is a very interesting framework that you can actually use. No, everybody can use, whether it's written, verbal, or any kind of communication. Yeah.
That sounds like a very actionable plan and a framework for communicating with people, but
Yeah.
not enough are aware of that or even practicing it.
Yeah.
I'm hoping that in some little way, maybe the Leader's Edge can help spread that as so that they will understand that it's not enough just to say something, but you have to follow the WRITE format. um, wow. That topic is what I'd like to describe as a standalone topic. You could teach, you could
Yeah.
facilitate a workshop just for that.
Mm.
Wow.
Thank
Yeah.
you. Yeah, and I usually do this also. And some of the things that I've got here, I mean, yes, we made this as a company, but I'll be very honest and say the idea came from the military. Because if you're not this specific, then it's lives at stake. So, I would give credit to the military for helping me create something like this, right? So, yeah, so that's
Indeed.
something.
Memos, however tedious they may be to write,
Yeah.
does help a lot. A paper
Mhm.
trail would help people understand why certain decisions were reached, and they'd be able to understand that it's not just on the whim of, say, the lieutenant, but this goes all the way up the chain. So we're
Yep.
just implementing what was already carefully considered and planned
Mhm.
by the upper echelons,
Yep.
and that makes following orders so much easier. Hmm.
And just to give you an idea of that, that's what we call in the military commander's intent. So, commander's intent means if there is an intent of the commander, it's known from the highest ranking official to the lowest of the low ranking official. Yeah.
It is easier to follow difficult orders if you know why. So that's the reason. And you know that other actions are being taken together with what you're being asked to do. And then when it's mentioned in a way, and this is where military leadership really is challenged, in that they need to be able to rouse the men, to inspire them into action. After all, your life is about to be put at risk. So if you're going to down to forward of the line, then you need to have motivation, and that's where this tact can really come in handy. And of course, the end notes, which is at the very end, is maybe to help contextualize, where in the big picture is this action going to come in.
True. But yeah, I do sometimes read. Again, going back to reading, I guess I read
Yeah.
a lot, so I do still learn things, one or two things all the time.
I'll go a little bit off topic now, and
Sure, no
just
problem.
ask you a little, because you are an utterly fascinating guest to
Oh, thank
interview.
you. Thank you.
Um, what idea of paradise would be for you? Like, for example,
Uh-huh.
if you had to be quarantined for 2 weeks, and you had a choice, and I'll give you the choices. One would be to spend 2 weeks in fully booked in Serendra,
Okay.
with all those wonderful hard copy, hardbound books,
Yeah.
versus, and of course, you'd be fed well, the aircon would be turned on, versus, say, spending 2 weeks in Boracay, uh, but without books. You'd have your internet, but no books, and you have the sun and the surf for 2 weeks. Which would you go for?
Huh. Actually, that's a hard, because honestly speaking, I didn't like books before, right?
Okay.
I didn't like studying. I actually failed some classes before. I graduated a different course because I didn't pass my my course. I mean, to be very honest. But if it's not in the choices, because I would be lying if I say I would read books all the time, which I do, but I wouldn't enjoy it. I would do it because I want to teach. So teaching would be the one that I would choose if ever I'm stranded with the internet connection. That's what I would choose because I can teach.
Yeah, okay. So I understand now. Your terminal value is being a good teacher. Your instrumental value is reading, because it's what
Yes.
allows you to do what you love, which is to help others,
Mhm.
to create this understanding of how the world works, and allow people
Yep.
to survive in it.
Mhm.
Wonderful. I wish more people were like you.
Oh, thank
The
you.
love for books is so rare now. Um,
Yeah. But it's really I think acquired taste. I mean, I would be very honest and also say that I only found the love for reading maybe when I went to the military.
mm.
Yeah. Yeah.
In my case, I've had it ever since college.
Oh wow.
Never went out on dates, parties, or
Mhm.
anything like that. I spent every free time I had in the library. I read through three nonfiction novels by Missioner, for example, three of them in 1 week.
Oh
Really,
wow.
really thick ones. That's
Mm.
how voraciously I went through books back in the day, and it's helping me now, because you can't
Yeah.
share what you don't have.
Yeah. You
And
can't. You can't.
yeah.
Very true. Very true.
Mm. So now that we've come to the end of our show, um, what advice would you like to share, especially to our audience, some of whom are probably very anxious about the world and the situation we're in? How do we
Oh,
help them look forward to 2021?
oh yeah. I have a few things, a few frameworks that they could actually use so that they could actually improve themselves for this. If you don't mind, I'll share a few. Right? Is first, going into 2021 is to just try to understand yourself as well as understanding other people. And this takes action. And this is a quick framework that we can call it an operating manual or self-operating manual or even my operating manual. And these are four questions that you can ask yourself and let others ask themselves too. because a lot of people start doing things without understanding what actually motivates them, what actually does things. So I'll just run by it very quickly. So these are some questions that you can think of very deeply, and it does not need to be done in like an hour or so. You can take weeks, it can always change, right? So for example, I work best when. Okay, I work best when. That's first question. Second question is, a large part of who I am today is because of I can't function without. And then what energizes me the most is. So if it was me, it might be different for you, right? I can quickly say I work best when clearly see my objectives and goals, right? So, for example, if I'm invited to something like this, the first thing that I always ask is, what is the objective of this thing, right? So that I'll be able to work on it the best as I can, right? A large part of who am I today is because of my experiences in the military, right? So when I share this with other people, people would understand, okay, his learnings are from the military. So when I talk to him, I should talk to him in the military language or in the military way, because that's how he got his education. That's how he is today, right? So if you make your staff or even your coworkers answer this, you would see like, oh, a large part of who am I today is my seminary life in a, I don't know, in the province, let's say. Then you would say, oh, this person has been taught by the teachings of, let's say, God, right? And then you can match some things, right? I can't function without. It's simple as maybe I could say coffee, right? Coffee or even food in the morning. Then this is something that you can motivate others with. Because if others know you, then a simple gesture as someone giving me coffee would already make me happy, right? If you know that the other person just needs a step-by-step direction so that that person could function, then giving him or her a step-by-step direction would actually make that person very happy, right? And at the last is what energizes me the most is a lot of people don't understand compensation and benefits well, that they think money or material things are always the end goal, and that would motivate people. But for example, if I answer this, I would say when my teamwork helps others, when I see others are actually growing because of it, I am super happy, right? So I love doing things like this because I know that, this is an investment, yes, of my time, but I know maybe I could reach other people. And this actually energizes me, right? So, and other different people have different, it can be money for others, and there's nothing wrong with that, right? To support their family. Others can be maybe awards. I know a lot of people who do their job because they want to win awards, and there's nothing wrong with that too. It's what energizes them. So knowing this and knowing the teams and sharing it with each other, what this is, would actually make you a better team altogether. Especially the leaders would know how to actually put their team together this way, right? And of course, the next one I want to share is, if you do have this is one thing that you have to define also, because productivity for you, productivity for me, productivity for others are completely different things. I might do something and feel like I'm so productive, but for my boss, it's not productive. So once you define what's their productivity, what means productivity for them, what it means for them, then you'd be able to align it and say, okay, I've done this job, and there will be less miscommunication when it comes to things. And most of the time, employees and employers fight about this because they always say, but I've done so much. But for the bosses, that's not what they want. So defining this from the start would be something that you would do very, very well. Yeah. I have a few more. Would you want me to still share it?
Sure.
Yeah. It's just
They're
three.
very,
Two
very
more.
good.
Two more.
Yeah.
I'll give you two more.
Okay.
Okay. So next would be, this is very important, especially when people keep thinking that everything's a priority when it shouldn't be. So this is a grid. So need feasibility grid that we say. So let's say you high need, low feasibility, right? If it's a high need and low feasibility, these tasks, you have to make it a project,
Mm.
right? So you have to plan and break it down. If it's a high need and high feasibility, you have to do it now. So you can do it at this moment, then do it now, right? If it's low need and high feasibility, you have to make it a task, all right? And then if it's low need and low feasibility, okay, then it's not worth it to do. When I ask people what they need to focus on, most of the time they would say that they will focus on the high need, high feasibility, right? That's what usually they would say because I can do it and I it's needed right now. But this actually leads to burnout. This actually leads to people saying there's so much things to do, everything is a priority, right? What people really need to focus on is the low feasibility and high need, especially the leaders. If you are able to make things a project and plan and break it down, you will actually reduce the do it now quadrant. You will also reduce the make a task. Make it a task just means delegating, right? You will also reduce the things that you have to do in the other quadrants. So what leaders really forget to do is that as leaders, they're not people who just, puts out fires. They're not just people who just, do tasks. They have to be the ones to plan and break it down so that the other quadrants are not overwhelmed. So that's one thing that leaders, I guess, can remind themselves of, that making it a project, planning it, and breaking down before it becomes urgent is something that people should be doing, right? And lastly, because of the pandemic, this has been very useful also for me. And this is something that we've used also in the military because we have to make quick decisions, right? And a quick decision might lead to a life or death situation. So we cannot really see the future. We can't really predict the future, but we can see the future as a timeline. So what does this mean? This just means that we're prepping for consequences. So prepping for consequences means that we look at or we visualize what will happen in the future because we cannot really, predict. So it's just visualizing. So we use what we call the 10-10-10 method. Okay? So what does this mean? What would you honestly feel after doing this specific action? So let's say you have to make a decision. Let's make it easier. Let's say you want to buy something online to make it very, very, light. Yeah, you want to buy something online. Ask yourself honestly, what would you feel 10 minutes from now? Right? Okay, you'll feel happy because you bought something, maybe you need it or whatever, okay? And then what would you feel 10 months from now? Okay, I might forget it. I might, not be able to use it anymore because I'll just forget about it. And then ask yourself, what will happen 10 years from now? 10 years here from now, you regret it because I just wasted money, something like that. So looking at it this way, then you would say, oh, I'm not going to buy this because I know that in the long run, this is not something that I would actually use, right? But if it's for me, like for example, I want to buy a big purchase. Let's just stick to purchases because that's simple, right? I need to buy a computer right now because I feel like my computer is dying. So 10 minutes, yes, I will feel a bit bad because I'm going to lose a big chunk of money. 10 months, I think I'll be teaching a lot and I'll be, doing a lot of reports and all that. And I like that. So maybe I'll be happy. 10 years from now, maybe I'll be successful. Okay, I'll get it because I know that this is a good decision that I will make. So even in companies, do I cut them right now? Or if I'm angry, let's make it simple. If I'm angry at my subordinate or if I'm angry at my coworker, I can shout at them. What will I feel 10 minutes from now? I'll feel okay. 10 months, I might feel bad because we're not in a good relationship anymore. 10 years, if he's more successful than I am, I'll be kicking myself for it, right? Then I would say, oh, I shouldn't shout at him. Maybe I should think of a different option to behave, right? So yeah, it's a very, very interesting thing to look at, especially if you're leaders who has to make decisions very, very fast, right? So something that you could even use even after this session, right? So
Indeed.
that's pretty much it. Yeah.
Once again, I'd like to say thank you
Oh, thank you so much.
for being our guest. And guys, for those of you watching, remember, do pay a visit to Daily's YouTube channel,
Hmm.
and you look at the book summaries that he's done there. Um, Later on, I'll be sharing as I
Oh, I
post
can
it.
actually share it now. I have a slide
Yeah.
for it if you
Okay.
need to. Oh,
Yeah.
just to give you a quick, what's this background? All the Korean men have to. It's mandatory for us to go to the military. So yeah, I mean, I didn't have a choice then, but I'm really, like you said, I'm super thankful for it. right?
Yes.
Yeah, but before I show you my link, I just want to leave you with this quote and say, when a plant does not grow, you really fix the environment in which it grows and not the plant. So hopefully, yeah, the plantitos and plantitas out there. I know in the pandemic, a lot of the people, bought plants, right? But yeah,
Yeah.
you don't try to fix the plant, right? You fix the environment in which it grows for it to flourish. So
Agree.
please do, as a
Agree.
leader, please keep that in mind. And like Dino mentioned a while ago, if you want to follow me on social media, I have Instagram because I'm a millennial. I go live every Fridays. Of course, not now. I'm on a break for the Christmas, but I'll start in January again, going live, talking about different things on Facebook. And my book channel is Daily Book Club. So I summarize nonfiction books in Taglish. So yeah, as much as possible, I release an episode every week. Right? And then if you have questions, you can email me at day@fourthwallglobal.com. So yeah. So
Wonderful.
thank you very much for having me today. I really
You're
enjoyed.
very welcome. Thank you for accepting the invitation of our
Oh,
program
no
director,
worries.
Dinah.
Yeah,
Uh,
Diana.
it seems you made such a good impression with her that
Oh,
she said,
thank
"Oh,
you.
we got to get Day on our show. We got to get him on our show." I said, I'm not saying no. Go ahead, please." He would be a breath of fresh air because everyone else has been so much more senior. So
Oh, no.
yeah, it's finally great to see somebody who's younger than me. Most
Oh,
of our
no, thank
guests
you.
have been either older or my age. So
Well, thank you for trusting me.
yeah, not at all. As our previous guest once said, that one of the current methodologies popular now in training is what they call reverse coaching. And
Yeah.
that is the younger generation teaching the older generation how to do certain things. There's wisdom all around, and nobody has a monopoly on it. So, on behalf of my fellow hosts and our program director, Dinah, I'd like to thank you for being with us here tonight.
Oh, thank you.
So,
Thank you so much.
guys, remember, go visit the Daily Book Club and have a look at all those social media channels that Day is using. And remember that learning is a never ending process with limitless vistas. Merry Christmas, Happy New Year, stay well, be safe. Good night.